What is going on, world travelers? You big, sexy world travelers. This is Judge Mentalist, your co-host, and I am back in the cold Mid-Atlantic, and we are getting a projected snowstorm this weekend of much snow, which may jack up one of my shows, but fortunately, we've got a backup plan. I am excited to hear what kind of weather you're dealing with there, Big Sexy.
Yeah, well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Whenever this is hitting your ear holes, I hope that it is good. The weather, we're overcast today, but it's lovely. It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, actually, I think the sun is trying to peek through now. Um, it's fun. So it's gorgeous weather. Interesting enough, I did an interview 2 days ago that our listeners will hear in a couple weeks. And it was on at my friend's house. Shout out to Maria Paz. It was on her balcony, but we started at like 5:15. So while we're conducting the interview, it's slowly getting darker and darker. So we start in full daylight, but then as the sun sets, it gets dark, and so we end the interview like in almost complete darkness. And that's got to be a fun thing to watch. I want to watch it on like triple speed, watch to watch the light just kind of fade out and fade away. So that was a very fun weather experience with an interview in the wild, as it were. So Patreon members, stay tuned for that. That'll be dropping soon, and then listeners, that episode will be dropping, like I said, in a couple weeks. Yeah, man. But
Sweet.
How are you doing, good sir?
Well, it's cold, which sucks, but it is what it is.
All right, because you're in that Maryland. You're up in that northeast area. It's winter where you are.
We sometimes get 4 seasons. We sometimes get them rotated like 18 times throughout the year because there's a problem with Maryland and consistency in the weather from time to time. One of my favorite memes actually that floats out there is just a drawing of Maryland's flag. And if you're not familiar with Maryland's flag, go ahead and look it up. But it is,
I have to.
Yeah, it is. It's made up of 2 smaller flags of the families, I guess, that were part. I don't know the history of it. Let's be real, but probably the families that founded Maryland. So it's a whole bunch of different, 2 corners of it or 2 quarters of it are like black and yellow, almost checkered.
Oh,
and
wow!
Then another is.
It looks like a good old fashioned, coat of arms. You can definitely tell it has that family sigil look about it. It's not something any elementary school kids are going to be drawing anytime soon.
So if you look at it, actually the meme is not just the Maryland flag, but if you search for Maryland flag weather meme, you will see a color coding: winter, summer, autumn, and spring, white, black, red, and yellow, and it running from January through December. So the Alaska flag, and I don't know if this is actually the Alaska flag, it's just the way that it looks on this meme, is a big old field of white, and the flags are turned sideways, so it's a big old field of white until you get to what would be the middle of the year, a stripe of red, autumn, the white being winter, and then a big old field of white. Florida is having a big, which can't be Florida's flag. A bit.
None of these are actually the state's flag. I think what they're doing is they're making fun of
Oh,
Maryland
oh, oh, oh! Those aren't supposed to be
utilizing the
flags.
four colors of the state flag.
They're showing how. I gotcha. They're okay. Only
Right.
one representing Maryland's weather is its flag,
Is
which
its flag, right.
in January you will start in autumn, then have some winter, a little week of spring, a chunk of summer will spring up from nowhere, and as it progresses through, it's just and it is an interesting and accurate interpretation of Maryland's weather,
Right,
to
yeah.
say the
If they
least.
had Nevada on there, the whole flag would be black, except for the border would be red, and then a very tiny shoestring line of spring near the top, and a tiny shoestring line of white near the bottom.
Yeah.
But the rest is red.
So
And even though it isn't the pure red, it'll be like red with speckles of black in it. Everything would have black freckles.
so yeah, weather here crazy and all over the place, but we are definitely in the mostly cold time of the year. And I would say normally this would be a horrible time to return from a Caribbean cruise, but there was a cold streak or cold snap or something going through the area. So the warmest that we had on this cruise was like 70 some degrees. It
Oh
wasn't
wow.
horrible, but it wasn't. If you are going, whether it be to the Caribbean, whether it be an all inclusive or a cruise or whatever it is, in what is your region's winter, you want warm. You want
Right.
warm. You are going there for, even if it's just a small percentage of your reasoning, you are going there to escape the cold.
Oh,
So,
that reminds me. I don't know if you heard the story or not. There was a story of um of I think it was a cruise ship that was supposed to be going. I'm gonna fuck this up. There was a cruise ship that was supposed to be going to the Bahamas, and it got rerouted to Boston.
oh,
Right. So you imagine packing everything for the Bahamas, and it takes you to Boston.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
that happened.
But where, I mean, if that cruise ship is cruising out of, I mean, where was the cruise ship cruising out of?
I think it was flowing out of. Oh, here it is. Okay, so here's the news report. The MSC Meraviglia had been scheduled to sail from New York City to the Bahamas, but severe weather forced a last-minute change to the ship's itinerary. Instead of heading south for the winter, passengers were notified they'd be heading to in the opposite direction to Boston, New England, and Canada. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was in December.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, right. So I mean, imagine you're excited. You got your bags packed. You packed your swim trunks. You packed your bikini. You ready to go. You ready for some rum on the beach, and you're all set to go. And they say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize, but due to severe weather, this ship is going to reroute the itinerary. Instead of the Bahamas, we will be headed to Boston, Massachusetts, New England, and Canada. Enjoy your stay." Click. Like you're fucked. You're fucked. Like all of a
Yeah,
sudden,
that's
every single heavy coat in that shop is gone. Yeah, I would be so pissed. So pissed.
that is something else, that's for sure. Um
Yeah. And I haven't done. If you want to check it out, the folks go to just search cruise rerouted to Boston, and it's the first story that comes up, and you can learn all about it. But yeah, having cruised quite a bit, that luckily we haven't ran into anything as crazy as that. Now, I believe, sir, you just got back from a cruise.
Absolutely, yep.
Yep, you went on a cruise line and a famous cruise line. And please tell us your experience.
So I'll tell you, it's not fair to say that I have beef.
Okay.
And if I have beef, the beef is not particularly directed so much at the cruise line as it is with all of the people in the zeitgeist that have pumped up this particular cruise line
Okay.
and how amazing everything is. How I've even heard people more than once say, once you cruise on this line, it will ruin other cruises for you.
And I
I
take
will
it that
say,
it didn't do that for you.
if I had gone on this cruise as my first cruise, experienced nothing else like it,
Mm-hmm.
and went in with the expectation that there were no other cruise lines that came anywhere near this one, I would probably stay landlocked or air mode for life. I will not name the name of the cruise line because I don't really want to even fathom what dealing with the cease and desist letter and needing to try to.
And the good news is, if our listeners are really curious about it, they already know. Like our listeners already know which cruise line it is, and if this is your first episode, welcome. And if you're wondering what cruise line, pop back a few episodes and you'll hear us mentioning it. Because prior we're fine. Prior to it, we're happy to say,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, we're
yeah.
going on this. Da, da, da.
I just got this notification on my phone. Sorry, this is the attention deficit coming into me. Did you know, completely unrelated here, that the Mickey Mouse character is now in the public domain, so you can just use it?
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
As
So anyway,
as of
getting,
as of a few days ago, yes.
getting back to the completely unrelated cruise discussion. Um, I will use another cruise line in comparison because it's all I have. The food on this cruise that was supposed to be amazing was fine, but it was no better than Carnival.
No mouth watering.
Nothing,
Uh,
nothing
no
like.
mouth watering dinners in the shape of a mouse at all.
I mean, it was. Don't get me wrong, the food was great, but the food on
Right.
Carnival was great. I
Right.
did not get that. This is so much better. This is going to ruin other cruise lines for you.
Right.
Experience.
No, that, and
And
I'll say that I hear that's virgin for you. At least for me,
will ruin other cruise lines.
it has for me at least. Like
I I'm
I've
not
been,
closing the door on
I
cruise.
can't say it fully that it ruined other cruise lines, but it is my knee jerk go to now. If I'm going to cruise somewhere, my first place to look is Virgin, but that's specifically because they're adults only.
That's a plus.
Yeah, 18 or
Obviously, I
over.
was on a ship with a bunch of kids running around, which was
Right.
it was what it was. We expected
I'd say
that.
your
That was
cruise is
the deal.
geared towards children.
One thing I will say about the food. Number one, there it was worse with respect to the burgers. Carnival's
Interesting.
got some sort of deal, partnership, licensing, or whatever with Guy Fieri,
Oh, well, okay.
and
They're getting top notch beef.
those burgers on those Carnival cruise ships from the Guy Fieri place are to die for. And so there's not, I mean, like, all I wanted was that Guy Fieri burger the whole week I was on this ship.
Right.
And, so obviously I didn't get that. But when we went to the private island,
Mm-hmm.
that food was downright inedible.
Really?
It was, and I don't know whether it was the particular week. I don't know whether it had something to do with the weather. Maybe they didn't get it, again. So I
The
don't even
proper
want to
shipment in of
say
delicious whatever's.
that what I experienced this week was indicative of any other time because my sample set is one. All right.
Right.
But boy, oh boy, if this were my sole and initial experience with sailing the Caribbean, it would likely, if it weren't my last, it would be my last for a while.
Right. I mean, they say you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and so, and you kind of went in with high hopes. Like, I try not to pump too much stuff up unless I can back it up with, like, you know reasoning why I give it the boost that I do. You
Yeah.
know, if having never been on the cruise line you've been on, I had no opinion about it one way or other. I was anxious to hear your report. Did you get footage for our friend Billy?
Some, but not really anything like
Any interviews?
no, these people, let me, oh God, you want me to go on a rant. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the
Well, look,
people.
that's what our listeners want. Our
Woo!
listeners want the soapbox rant, to hear about our travels and our
Oh, good
experiences around the
Lord.
world.
Oh, I I don't know that I made any friends on this cruise because I don't know that there were any friends to be had other than the wait staff. We had amazing, wonderful, friendly interactions with the wait staff, but
But not
there's
no other sailors.
there's no way without borderline stalking people to know that, hey, oh look, Shelby and Francis are going to be on this cruise, so we should, you can't do that. Um, these people, and again, this is a generalization and a feeling and an experience on a one-time situation
Right.
that, oh God, they were so up their own asses, so entitled, so like, that kind of, sometimes you overhear, I paid X for this, I should be whatever, right? Well,
Right.
guess what, sister? Everybody paid a shit ton of money to be on this ship, so shut the fuck up and get back in line.
Oh, you had a few of
um
those. Ugh.
it was more of those than not. There was probably no sailor, is that the right term,
Yes.
for a participant in the cruise? There was no sailor on that ship that I think that I held a conversation with for more than 15, 20 minutes, which is not, you know, normal for me.
Right.
Um, Again, I have more lengthy conversations with people who worked there than others.
And speaking
Um,
of folks who worked there, how was the entertainment?
um, there was no magician on the ship.
Oh, none really.
Yeah. So that was
Interesting. Like no one doing like close up magic, or
none of that. No,
did they
no.
have a
That was
comedian at all?
There was a ventriloquist. I didn't end up making to that because it was like first night. We were still trying to get our bearings and figure out what was
Right.
going on. So we ended up missing, and for whatever reason, and there were no time zone changes, none of that. It was just a direct flight, 2 hours down, taking an Uber 13 minutes to the cruise terminal. But I was just wiped the first night by like
Really?
9 o'clock or something. I don't know why. Fine the rest of the trip, but for whatever reason, the very first, the embarkation day,
Right.
I was probably in bed by 9 or 9:30.
Do
Like,
they have any fun embarkation activities? I know a lot of times people will stand on the edge of the ship and like wave
yeah, they do. I mean, they
to
do stuff
folks.
like that. That's not my journey.
Usually
So
there's like a big show. When we disembarked from Miami to come to Barcelona, there was like a concert, like a full on concert by the pool deck. So people was down on the pool deck, and of course the pool deck on the top, and you can see the pier from the dock from there. The port, rather, that's the word I'm looking for. Port is the word. Port is the word. Um, like a band's playing where everybody's waving and like they're grooving and whatever. It's kind of set. It set the tone for a really big party atmosphere. Um, that this cruise is going to be a party. Get ready, right? It sounds like your cruise didn't have that tone set. Now, were there a lot of we'll call it themed showcases or themed experiences? I would imagine.
yeah, one of the biggest things that took up most of the time on schedules was that they just had movies running in the theater, and I'm like, who wants to? I mean, we watched one because we hadn't seen it before, but it's like, who wants to come on a cruise to go sit down and watch a movie?
Yeah.
Um,
On
you
a,
know,
I'll tell you what, on a 15-day transatlantic, I wouldn't mind a film or two in the theater.
Different story. I was on a
Different
5 day.
story. You're on a 5 day to
Um,
the Bahamas. They can fill the space up with live music or you know creative
um,
interaction or a magician like
it
maybe
would
a
have been great.
hypnotist or a
Also, could have been
mentalist.
great. Yeah.
You know,
Um, I mean, again, overall, like it wasn't horrible. It just what didn't live up to the hype.
right,
And and then circling back around to the money comment, like I could probably get two of whatever the most expensive suites are on a Carnival cruise and still have money left in my pocket
yeah,
comparing cost to cost. And that is not me digging into some sort of comp type of situation because I gamble.
right.
As of right now,
Were you able to gamble on
Carnival.
this cruise?
No, there's no casino on this one. Um,
Oh,
which
that
which
that's
which
a
for
that's
some
a big negative.
which for some elements was nice because um, there really wasn't smoke anywhere. So that's
Right,
I will take that trade off almost any day. Like I don't
right,
need to gamble. I will if it's there, but I don't need to gamble. I don't really give a shit about that.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
it's
otherwise you'd
not.
be in Atlantic City all the time.
I certainly would. Well, it's my philosophy on that. It's easier and more beneficial for me to just hop a flight and go to Vegas than
Exactly
to
that part. That part.
because there's no comparison between Vegas and Atlantic City. Um,
I can't wait. I hope to get to Atlantic City one time just so I can make that comparison. Because interesting. I've been to casinos here in Spain.
okay,
They're called salons, Salon de Juego. I think it's like Salon of Play or something like that. Um, and they're not. Being from Vegas, they're not casinos. They're like you've been to Vegas, so you're familiar with Dottie's.
no,
You know those little tiny minuscule casinos that they have. You may be driving through the city, and they'll be like next to a gas station.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They'll be like it's a little small. They have games. They might have snacks. You can buy
They're like a,
cigarettes
like
in there.
a video poker hall
Kind
type
of,
of.
yeah, yeah. Um, that is their casinos here. Yeah, in Bucharest they had casinos, and even their big casino was like an extended Dottie's, like a bigger. It wasn't a massive uh casino per se. Like I walked into one that was named Las Vegas in Bucharest, and they had 24 games of chance. And by
Oh
games of
man,
chance, I mean slot machines.
so listen. I am on Google. I have found Salon de Juego.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what does that mean? Like a place to play or something like
I'm
that?
assuming, yeah, I don't know what salon necessarily means in Spanish. Let me pull up my Google Translator, my handy
And
dandy life saving Google Translator here.
it's like a room of play or something like that, or parlor of play or something like
Parlor of play, yeah.
that. You're
Game
so it's
room.
like you go down this little kind of sort of winding staircase, like a half arc, and yeah, like lining the wall. There's like 20 couple machines. There's a roulette, one of those little
Yeah.
electronic.
Which one did you go to? Because there's a lot of Salon de Juegos here.
Um,
Like Salon de Juego is the word for casino.
gotcha. Okay, Joker bet. I clicked Joker bet.
Yeah, so Joker Bet is the name of one of the Salon de Juegos.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh yeah. That there are
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. And they're dotted all around the landscape. So I was always interested to find them. And then I remember walking in one with our friend. Um, I think we were with Raluca, and I thought, I got to go in and check it out and just to see it. I went, oh, that's not at all what I thought I was going to walk into. That is quite small.
No, I will say that the casinos in Atlantic City are certainly Vegas style casinos. So they're
Hmm.
big, they're sprawling, often multiple floors,
They're
different areas,
United States casinos. Yeah.
slots here, high roller room there, high limit tables here, tables on the floor, bar in the middle, bar over there, cocktail waitresses walking around. Like all of that pretty much lines up with Vegas. It's just like a small little Vegas,
Right.
you know. So it's not horrible, but there's just really not
There's no comparison to
a
Vegas. There's
substantial
no
comparison, right?
right. There just isn't. I mean, there's casinos in California. There's of course there's Reno. You know, um, there's casinos in Louisiana. The riverboats and whatnot. None of them. It's like none of them can compare to what Vegas offers.
Which
Um,
let me for listeners who may not be familiar with this concept, I want to clarify that word you just said, riverboat. Um, because originally in my zeitgeist, when I would think of a riverboat casino, I thought it would be almost like a cruise ship. You've got
oh,
to get
like a
on,
boat you have to get on the boat
and then they're going to
and then
disembark,
you're
and you're going to
cruising
go
and
sail and
disembarks.
all that
Right.
other stuff, right? No, this is literally just a solid, fixed building that is in the water
Yeah. I mean,
because
it's technically a river boat. It is a boat. If it needed to, I suppose it could float, but probably not. Because it's not designed for travel.
correct.
It is just
It,
designed to be off the land.
it is. Oh, it's, no, that's just floating in this water. So it is
Yeah.
not something that's disallowed here on land in this
Right.
particular state.
It is an quote unquote international waters
A
or
workaround.
national waters. It's a workaround.
Yeah. So, but those are even set up, and those are,
Which is funny
um,
because in Laughlin,
yeah,
right, which is next to a river, all the casinos are on land
yeah.
because it's in Nevada. Some of the casinos are shaped like riverboats, but all the casinos are
That's
on
just
land
a theme and stylistic thing. Yeah.
next to the river. There are zero casinos on the river because they don't need to be. Yeah.
And I will tell you that for the most part, as a if you didn't know consumer wise that you were walking into a riverboat casino that is quote unquote on the water, other than it being shaped and thematically looks from the outside like it's, one of those old style riverboats, you wouldn't know. You can't feel that you're on the water. There's no
No.
differentiation. You're walking across mostly usually like a bridge type of entryway that in no way indicate you can't see the water. There's
Right.
nothing obvious and apparent about it. It is nothing more than
Past
water.
understanding of where you are, there is no indication of where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I've been on quite a few of those, and again, it's just a casino.
yep.
Excellent.
So
So
yeah,
so out of all that uh general midness of your cruise experience, what would you say would be the highlight?
um, here was the highlight for me, and this is not necessarily going to be a highlight for anybody else, but um, I hung out. My oldest child wanted to watch the Ravens football game on New Year's Eve, which was a 1 o'clock Eastern time game. So it wasn't, in the evening, and it didn't in any way conflict with New Year's Eve plans. So we sat in this little lounge area. It was basically like a little sports bar, and they were playing the Miami Dolphins. We ported from Fort Lauderdale. So
Okay.
there was literally like us, maybe one other group of people, and then everybody else there, vast majority at least, were Dolphins fans. So for me, being the brand of asshole that I
At least for
am,
that day.
correct. Um, the for most of our listeners probably who are not sports ball people, the Ravens completely dismantled and decimated the Dolphins. Like it would have been, you would have thought that it was an NFL team playing a varsity high school team. It was that
Wow.
bad. Like it started off kind of like, oh, the Dolphins drove and scored, and then after that, it was just nothing going. Like the final score was, I think, 56-19.
Ooh.
Um, it was definitely a beating. So experiencing that kind of that crowd mentality that's all big. And again, they scored on the opening drive. So all of these Dolphins fans are super excited. And we're just sitting there chill, whatever. We're going to
Right.
watch the game. We're going to see it play out. We're not incredibly, I mean, my kid's probably more invested in the result than I am.
Right.
And all of a sudden, as we get a little further in, it gets quieter.
The energy shift. Oh, I love the energy shift.
You could feel the energy leave the room. Then you started seeing people leave the room. There were probably half those people left around halftime. Um, it was, and by the time we were in the fourth quarter of that game, and just before the soon-to-be second-time league MVP Lamar Jackson was pulled from the game so that he doesn't get injured or whatnot.
Right.
And the backup quarterback on his one pass of the game. So Tyler Huntley's stat line is one pass, one completion,
Right.
19 yards, touchdown.
Nah.
By that time, and before Huntley was in there, I would say that in the main little arc in front of the biggest TV was pretty much by then filled up with either Chiefs or Bengals fans, which was going to be the 4:00 game coming next. So
Right.
all of those Dolphins fans had well vacated by the time that game was anywhere near over.
I guess had you
So
gone to one of the bars nearby, you might have seen them all there drowning their sorrows.
yeah, it was seeing stuff like that, experiencing that kind of ebb and flow of a crowd because of the game, is always enjoyable.
Right.
Whether or not, even just to go in, even if you're not into sports ball, all right, try to go to an establishment. Almost every city has a bar, major city has a bar that is, has kind of a, hey, if you're a whatever, like probably somewhere in downtown Baltimore, I could find a Raiders bar or,
Right.
or a 49ers bar or whatever. Insert team here. The bigger the city, the more likely that is. The more transient a fan base is. And what I mean by that is like the Pittsburgh Steelers are a fantastic example. There is probably a Steelers bar in every major city because the Steelers and Pittsburgh specifically used to be this huge steel mill industry. And then that industry changed, and all of those people, when those jobs kind of started to dry up, traversed the country to find other opportunities. So there are large cadres of Steelers fans all over this country because most people, when they move to wherever they move, maintain the fandom of whatever team they were a fan of. Some will adapt to the new surroundings, but for the most part, people stay loyal to their team. So, go find one of these bars, and if you are lucky enough to find an opportunity where, especially because the Dolphins have a winning record. The Dolphins are, I don't know, have 10 or 11 wins, which in football, American football, is a lot for a season.
Right. It's not bad.
They're going to make the playoffs. They may win their division, so they're not a bad team.
Right.
And
They just got spanked.
But what you're going to see many times, if you are lucky enough to go into one of these team specific bars on a day where all of those people legitimately think, not just being a fan. So, of course, I'm just like, yes, my team's going to win today, but legitimately think that their team is going to win and then get their asses kicked. To just sit back and just watch the way that that landscape changes over the course of 2 or 3 hours. It's an interesting time for
It
sure.
is definitely a sight to see. I have been on both sides of that coin. Being a Raiders fan, unfortunately, I've been on one side more than others. But I have been on the side when people come in and they're going to play the Raiders, and Raiders ain't always been the best team, and they're not that now. But go up against a good team, and you're in the room with a bunch of other fans of the other team, and then suddenly the game is not going their way. To feel that energy shift,
Yeah.
you know, and if you're the fan of the other team, it's hard not to lean in and gloat and talk your shit while you get the chance.
I was glad to see that my excuse me, my child was not that person. My
Right.
child, like me, was perfectly content. We were in kind of a little like side corner booth type of setup, right? Um, and there was no like, oh, we should rub it in or this that. We were just like we were mutually observing the crowd thin and quietly to ourselves appreciating that continued moment.
Did it
Um,
change the energy on the ship?
Overall, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
Because outside of rooms like that, everybody else was thinking about other things.
The Bahamas.
You
And
know,
how were I know you said the food was subpar, but how was like the weather when you got to the Bahamas? How was,
I mean,
it being there?
it was no higher than 70 degrees, so it wasn't. And again,
Right.
there's no nobody's got any control over
You didn't
that.
lay out and get a tan, get some sun, get some vitamin
No,
D up
I
in you.
laid out and did some reading, but that's about it. Um,
Cool deal.
yeah. I mean, overall, there's nothing about it that I regret. I just,
Also nothing about it that was, mind blowing.
right.
Like I say,
There,
very mid. As the kids would say today, it was quite mid.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool. Well, at least you got to experience it, and
oh,
and and
absolutely.
and the cool thing about that, of course, is that now you have an understanding of the variety of cruises that
Yeah,
can be.
and I can tell you, I'm still very much looking forward to eventually getting on a Virgin cruise and seeing exactly what that's all about. I've
Right.
heard great things about it. Now, to be fair, all right, I took experience from my carnival experiences and applied it to this cruise.
Right.
And what I mean by that, and I think that I said this after I had been on one of the carnival cruises, is that I felt when we engaged in the premier dining, like the you have to pay extra for this dining
Uh huh.
on Carnival, that there was not a substantial step up.
Right.
And that if it weren't for the fact that the casino were comping that, we wouldn't we wouldn't spend our money there because the food in the regular seated dining hall was almost as good,
Right.
not
Right.
worth the extra cost. So taking that into thought with the preconceived notion of how much better this was going to be, we didn't even bother to explore any of that. So I can't say anything one way or the other about, the elevated private dining experience. Not private, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The
The
premier,
elevated dining experience. Right. Right.
yeah. So I can't say anything about those. Maybe those were balls to the wall amazing, and maybe made up for it. But I can tell you it benefits me in a sense that at the time, whenever that may be, that I do the um, do a Virgin cruise, I'll certainly look into that and look to schedule and take advantage of that at least once or twice, depending on the
And of
weather.
course, fingers crossed that we'll be able to join on, do a cruise together. I think that would be amazing.
I would love to set something like that up, and
Yeah.
we need to talk to Billy about what goes into setting something like that up.
Yeah.
We clearly don't have the audience yet to be able to do something like that.
Although I'll
But
tell you what, Billy did reach out to me. We're going to have, wait, let's get a little bit of a behind the scenes action. So Billy of cruisehabit.com did reach out to Big Sexy Digital Nomad with the possibility of becoming a sponsor to our podcast. So if that happens, great. So we'll be reviewing that and seeing what that entails. I have no idea if that's going to come to fruition. But I love that we're having those kind of conversations. And it makes sense that
for sure,
that's a perfect pairing, if you will. So we'll get into the weeds about what that entails. We'll set up a meeting and stuff, so listeners stay tuned. And we'll
well, I
work
mean, I
that
think
and see
that
what's
it's
going on.
something that I would be on board with the concept, because I think the website's great. I think it's got valuable information. I feel bad that I didn't generate nearly the content that I thought I was going to for him, but
Right.
I got, there were a couple of gates along the way that just overall got me discouraged on the entire experience. Not that it was bad. It just wasn't, it didn't live up to the hype, and the
Right.
people sucked.
And the people suck. I mean, if you don't meet anybody you want to interview, then it's hard to get interviews.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't want to do it. You don't want to force it. It can't be forced. It has to be like, oh, man, you're a really cool dude. Hey, I have this podcast about travel. Would you be able to chat with me? Because then you're just talking to a friend. Right. And if you're not making friends, and then, of course, you can't really get the employees because they're too busy working.
Yeah.
Record. So I ran into that as well.
I guess in retrospect, the perspective of, wanting to find people, having that in the back of my mind desire to potentially interview travelers. This is not a cruise line that's conducive necessarily to travelers. Obviously, you traveled to get there and you're seeing other places, but there's something else. I will say there was this cool ass up on the open deck, this enclosed tube water slide thing that was pretty badass. That was fun.
Oh, nice.
But you got to kind of duck and hide and find pools that aren't 30% filled with piss.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, like that's that.
I mean, sadly, you got to do that no matter what cruise line it is, whether it's adults only or not. Because adults are nasty motherfuckers too. So
it's true. It's true.
Yeah. Do you remember what was the movie that you guys watched?
I'm not going to say. I'm just trying to stay away from any obvious branding.
Right, I got it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense because it would definitely tell us what for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say one of the other cool features. Did
you enjoy the movie?
Oh, absolutely! The movie was fantastic.
Okay.
I will say one of the cool features in the stateroom, either for like when you're winding down, or if you kind of have one of the, especially if you were on a longer one where you were winding down and you needed just kind of a couple hours to just chill in the stateroom with nothing going on. They had a catalog within the, on demand, no extra cost of just, let's just say, a vault worth of films.
Well, they better. Right. I would be mad if I had booked this cruise line and I get to my stateroom and one of the channels wasn't entertainment geared towards this cruise line specifically. Right. That would upset me. Yeah, to the point. Well, good.
So
I'm glad you enjoyed.
Yeah. I mean, in general, yes. I'm not rushing back to do it again. So
Right. All right. Well, I believe that we have a time for wrong answers only. Judge
We sure
Midness
do.
and Big Sexy will do wrong answers only.
All right, cool. We got some science questions here.
Ooh, okay, here we go.
Oh, good Lord. There are no answers on this one,
None at all?
which is fine.
Well, maybe he did the whole scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there's
No. Because I have 3 questions, and then I am basically at the reply or forward button at the bottom.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Okay, all right.
this comes from Scoop Jesus. Happy birthday, belated.
Happy belated birthday, Scoop Jesus. Happy your
Question
day.
number 1. These are science questions. How are you on science, Big Sexy?
I'm somewhat knowledgeable. I used to love science when I was a kid, so we'll see how this goes.
I mean, the goal is wrong answers only here, so
Yeah.
I guess that doesn't matter. Number 1? What is the longest bone in the human body?
Well, of course, the longest bone in the human body varies between different species of human. So it can be.
What are these 2 species? Showers and growers?
Yes, exactly. You're good in science as well.
Yes.
You're good in science well. If you are a shower, that bone is obviously long. However, if you have pliable bone marrow, as it becomes engorged, then that bone tends to be longer. There's your answer.
But then there's some small fries out there too. So
yeah. So it varies. It varies. Africanus bonus.
Even I think I'm supposed to try to take a little stab at the right answer. I think it is the main top bone in your leg. Is that
the thigh bone?
Right.
Your fibula.
Femur. Fibula's down at the bottom. Femur's the big boy.
Okay, there you go. See, your femur. That is accurate, I believe.
Right. Number 2, what sweet molecule has 12 carbon atoms, 22 hydrogen atoms, and 11 oxygen atoms?
So, what sweet molecule has 12 carbon atoms?
12 carbon.
Right.
22 hydrogen.
22 hydrogen.
11 oxygen.
11 oxygen. Well, this is a distinct molecule. He's pulling a fast one on us, Scoop Jesus is. So, as we know, commonly, sweet molecule gives a clue that it is actually pineapple juice infused orgasms. Yeah. It's a drop of that having been infused with pineapple specifically is the molecule. Now, there's a lot of molecules if you're lucky, but otherwise, it's just a bit of that. That's the sweetest molecule.
I have nothing to get to the right answer here.
I don't know if that's sugar.
Maybe
it might be. We'll have to look this up later.
Yeah, it sure is.
Is it?
The white stuff we know is sugar, is sucrose, a molecule composed of 12 atoms of carbon, 22 atoms of hydrogen, and 11 atoms.
My second answer was going to be cocaine.
Sweet
little bit of booger sugar.
Yeah.
But he didn't have the extra molecule of snot.
Right.
He missed a snot molecule, so that let me know that it wasn't the booger sugar.
couple more OH endings there, which is
Right.
alcohol, and we've got nose beers.
Right.
No, oh man, number 3.
All right, here we go.
One of this unit of measurement. Wait. One of this unit of measurement for radioactive activity. One of this unit of measurement for radioactive activity named for a French physicist is equal to the disintegration of 1 nucleus per second.
Oh, this would be the Hong Chanson of Garçon for Hong Chanson.
Oh, Scoop Jesus.
Yeah, that is a very scientific question. If you know your Fonchon chansons, he was an amazing scientist from France, from the Nice region of France, and I believe I think his first name was Pierre Chanchon Fonchon. So it's the Fonchon Chanchon radioisotope. That helps that unit of measurement. There, you have your gigahertz, and you have your I can't remember the Geiger counters.
Yeah, the Geiger counter.
The Geigers. Now, the Geiger built upon Fonchon's work and stole a lot of it. So that's why he's the most commonly known, is Geiger, whose real name was actually Greg, but he wanted to be more familiar, more famous. So you can't be, if you call it the Greg counter,
Oh, okay.
it wouldn't be as interesting. So that's why we call it the Geiger counter. But he got all his work from Pierre Fonchon.
Gotcha.
There you go.
I thought his nickname was Mac.
Matt Geiger?
Yeah, Mac Geiger. Yeah. Yeah. That Geiger counter sound is something we should probably try to find and incorporate into the production meeting.
Not a bad idea.
That's a good thought. Scoop Jesus, as far as trying to ascertain the right answer, first of all, nothing coming out of my skull here. And the only thing that my hands would let me type into Google to try to figure this out is how many days until Good Friday. Not a threat. It is not a threat, Scoop Jesus. You'll be back in 3 days. So,
wow.
I actually just, in a bout of desperation, just copied the question, dropped it into, even with the ellipsis and everything, dropped it into Google, and it says that the answer is the Becquerel, Becquerel. Is unit of radioactivity in the International System of Units.
All right.
SI.
That sounds like the right answer.
The grammar on the question and then the explanation don't compute in my head. So clearly I'm nowhere near sciencey as I thought it is.
It's working. I get it. I understand. But what is missing is actually the function.
Right. 1 becquerel, if I'm saying that right, is defined as the of a quantity of radio. I don't even understand the words I'm saying right now. Thank you for this twister, Scoop Jesus, for real. 1 becquerel is defined as the activity of a quantity, and you know that asking these questions, Scoop Jesus knows exactly what the fuck they're about, and
he's loving it right now.
The only science for me today is being a fucking space cadet trying to figure this out. The activity of a quantity of radioactive material in which 1 nucleus decays per second, which is kind of what he asked, and I still don't know what the fuck is going on here. So it's like Half-Life? I don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
Keep these coming.
That's all 3 questions?
That's all 3 questions. Thank you so much, especially when they are a mind fuck. Plus, it's not a minus.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. So thank you for that. And of course, Scoop Jesus, you'll be entered into our contest to win the ticket to Jacob's Whiskey Barbecue for Scoop Fest 2024 this coming May. Be sure to we'll send you an email back to confirm that you're going, and then you can if you confirm you're going, we will be put into the drawing as well. I don't know if you
Yes.
heard on the most recent episode of ICS, I did send a letter and they read it, informing Scoops about our contest. So I figure,
Oh, sweet. I'm
the
way
people who
behind.
really want to know that are the Scoops. I mean, I don't think any other people care. So and so,
Oh, of
um,
course.
yeah. So
But don't
and
let
then,
that discourage
and interesting
you.
enough, they pose the idea that you don't have to go to Scoop Fest. You could just go to the whiskey barbecue.
Also true. Also
Right.
true.
Right. So but they're like, why would you? You're already there. Um. So yeah. Perfect. Awesome. Any other news or any big things coming up on your end there, Judgmentalist?
Always, but I'm trying to think of when this will drop so that I'm not giving old information. Here's
This
what
will
I will
drop
say.
next Wednesday.
If we get completely dumped on with this snowstorm, and you know how, no, you've been in Southern California and Vegas for long enough, so maybe you don't know what I'm talking about here. But here in the Mid Atlantic,
Mm-hmm.
we have become very accustomed in my adult years of seeing all sorts of different weather forecasts that may or may not happen, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And I'm not talking about the weatherman saying that, hey, it's only going to be 90 today, and then it hits 115, and it's like, where'd that come from? I'm
That's
talking about
Vegas.
we have seen, this hurricane's coming through, this is coming through. There are memes of people put out there with like one of those white plastic lawn chairs tipped over, and the caption's
Right.
like, I survived hurricane whatever. Okay.
Right. Right.
They're not that anybody hopes for, like, other than school kids, for extreme inclement weather, but if you did, forecasts can be very disappointing here. So
Right.
in the instance that the currently scheduled, and if it went off because there wasn't bad weather, January 6th fundraiser show Between Two Minds has to be rescheduled. That rescheduled date ends up being this Saturday, the 13th. So if you're somehow hearing this and there were, like 10 inches of snow or whatever last weekend, you might still be able to come see this show. So super cool, super fun show. I'm not just saying this because I'm in it. I've been a part of a whole bunch of different things, production wise, stage stuff. It is the most fun that I have done on stage, period. So that's all kick ass.
Cool deal. Cool deal. Only big thing happening on this end is we're getting ready to head back to the U.S. As of this recording, we're maybe about 10 days away, 11 days away.
There is a high likelihood, if anybody is in Las Vegas Sunday, February 4th, that I will be participating in Stacy Stardust's Secret Circus. Wow, that is tough to say. I've only ever said it in my head. Stacy Stardust's Secret Circus. Once that's confirmed, I'll post
Secret
information.
Circus. Somehow I thought you
Secret,
said Secret Service.
right? No, TSA took my guns,
Right.
but so I'll be doing, if that all works out, because I'll be in town for the Performing Hypnosis Summit. Unless you are listening to this and you're a hypnotist, and if you are, go to performinghypnosissummit.com. Come see me talk. I will be speaking on the first day, on Saturday, I think just before lunch. So that's going to be cool. I'm actually kind of excited. Most people would be really pissed with the slot that I am in, because I am speaking in a different room. If you've never been to a convention before, I'm sure they all work kind of in this way, where you get a schedule and here's what's going on.
Right.
And at whatever time this is, I'm in one room, and you make a choice. Go to this one or go to that one, or something.
Right.
Like at Magic Live, there's usually 3 things to pick from. I am speaking at the same time as probably like one of the biggest names in stage hypnotism ever. So I'm not expecting a very large crowd for my talk, which is
Okay.
fine. No pressure. But if you do come out, hopefully you come see me. And
There's a high possibility that I will also be in the house as well at some point in
and
time.
and anytime that you're in Vegas, the first weekend, the first Sunday of a month, which I think is the scheduling, you should check out the Secret Circus, because right now they're doing it the first Sunday of the month, and it's basically a variety show. So there's magicians, acrobats, probably comedians. I mean, it's a different lineup every time. So
Right.
a lot of times I see these flyers, and obviously I'm on the other side of the country, but there are a lot of performers that I know, really fun people, really fun acts. I think it's like 20, $25 if you buy online ahead of time to get in there. And I will say, as somebody who promotes and puts on shows, please buy tickets to stuff ahead of time.
Ahead of time, please.
It helps know and make things work so well. And
And
I'm not
helps
just saying
guarantee
this
shit doesn't
about
get canceled.
right. I'm not just saying this about my shows. I'm not just saying this about Elkton Magic shows. I'm just saying this in general. If you know that you're going to an event, especially localish stuff, you know, do it as far in advance as you possibly can. It is much, much, much appreciated.
Excellent. So, listeners, thank you guys very much for hanging out. As you know, you can join our Patreon over there at bullwiththebutthole.com. Where just for a mere subscription, you get access to all our videos, fun things, discounts, and advance notice of happenings within the world of Big Sexy Digital Nomad. And so definitely go check that out. We appreciate all you listeners. Like, share, and subscribe. Shoot over to our YouTube channel. Just search for Big Sexy Digital Nomad on YouTube and become a subscriber there. You'll catch a lot of our random videos, and this podcast is also there in cover art form. Of course, if you want to see our smiling faces, head over to our Patreon. Tell your friends, tell your family members, tell your family members' friends, and your friends' family members. We got some big things coming up for the new year. So thank you guys for making the last year so amazing, and let's continue and grow in the future. All right, y'all. And in the meantime, safe travels.
Safe travels.